You're sitting across from someone you trust. The conversation feels normal, easy. They're asking you questions, listening intently, nodding at all the right moments. You feel seen, understood, safe. But here's what you don't know. Every word you're saying is being cataloged, sorted, weaponized. And by the time you realize what's happening, they'll already own a piece of your mind. This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition. And right now, in this very moment, someone in your life is using at least 3 of the 17 tactics I'm about to reveal to you. The question isn't whether it's happening. The question is whether you'll recognize it before it's too late. Your mind is not entirely your own. That's the first truth you need to accept. Because the moment you believe your thoughts are sacred, untouchable, exclusively yours, you've already lost. Manipulators, predators, people who've studied the architecture of human psychology, they know something most people refuse to believe. Your mind has doors. And those doors have keys. And they've been collecting those keys for years, maybe decades, refining their approach through trial and error, through watching what works and what doesn't. I've spent over 15 years studying forensic psychology, sitting in on interrogations, analyzing manipulation tactics used by everyone from serial criminals to corporate executives to the person sitting next to you at Thanksgiving dinner. And here's what I've learned. The most dangerous manipulation doesn't announce itself. It hides in normal conversation. It wears the mask of concern, of humor, of casual small talk. And by the time you feel that something's wrong, the trap has already closed. Think about your last conversation with someone who made you feel slightly off balance. Not overtly threatened. Just unsettled. Like something didn't quite add up, but you couldn't put your finger on it. Hold that memory. Because we're about to dissect exactly what happened to you. She started noticing it 3 months into the friendship. Her new coworker, Marcus, always seemed to know exactly what to say. When she was stressed, he'd appear with coffee and that understanding smile. When she accomplished something, he was the first to celebrate. When she needed to vent, he listened without judgment. It felt like fate, like she'd finally found someone who truly got her. Then one day, during a team meeting, her manager asked who had come up with the new client strategy. Before she could speak, Marcus jumped in. He didn't take full credit, he was too smart for that. Instead, he said, "Well, Sarah had some initial thoughts, but we really developed it together. I helped refine the framework." She froze. They hadn't developed it together. She'd spent 2 weeks on that strategy alone. But the way he said it, with such casual confidence, made her question her own memory. Had she mentioned it to him? Had he contributed something she forgot? The rest of the team nodded, moved on. And she said nothing. That night, she replayed the conversation in her head over and over, wondering if she was being petty, if she was misremembering, if maybe he was right. This is called tactical questioning combined with credit redistribution. And you've experienced it. Maybe not in this exact scenario, but in some form. Someone asks you about your ideas, your plans, your strategies. They listen carefully, asking thoughtful follow-up questions that make you elaborate, that make you reveal every detail. You feel flattered by their interest. You feel heard. What you don't realize is they're not listening to support you. They're listening to harvest. They're extracting intellectual property from your brain, repackaging it, and presenting it as collaborative effort or even their own innovation. The questions aren't genuine curiosity. They're reconnaissance. Here's how you recognize it. Pay attention to people who ask detailed questions about your work but never share details about theirs. Notice when someone consistently knows your ideas but you never quite understand theirs. Watch for the pattern where your thoughts somehow become our thoughts in public settings. The defense is simple but requires discipline. When someone asks probing questions about your ideas, practice strategic vagueness until the idea is protected, documented, or already public. Share outcomes, not processes. Share what you've done, not what you're planning to do. And the moment someone misattributes your work, correct it immediately, publicly, without apology. Say it clearly. Say it once. Actually, I developed that strategy independently. Marcus and I discussed it after I'd completed the framework. Don't soften it. Don't say I think or I believe. State it as fact. Because it is. But that's not the worst part. There's a second tactic hiding inside normal conversation that's even more insidious because it doesn't steal your ideas. It steals your reality. Your mind is not entirely your own. And nowhere is this more true than when someone starts editing your memories in real time. He couldn't pinpoint when it started. His girlfriend, Emma, would recall conversations differently than he remembered them. Small things at first. She'd say he promised to pick up groceries when he was certain he hadn't. She'd insist he'd agreed to cancel plans with his friends when he distinctly remembered saying maybe. At first, he'd laugh it off, blame his own memory. Everyone forgets things, right? But then it escalated. After an argument about her flirting with someone at a party, she looked at him with genuine confusion and said, "We talked about this. You told me you were fine with me being friendly. You said you trusted me completely." He hadn't said that. He'd said the opposite. But she was so convincing, so calm, so certain, that he started to doubt himself. Did I say that? Was I drunk? Am I losing my mind? Within 6 months, he stopped trusting his own perceptions entirely. He started recording conversations on his phone, just to prove to himself he wasn't crazy. And when he finally played back one of those recordings and heard the truth, heard the actual words versus what she later claimed was said, he felt his stomach drop. Because it meant she knew. She knew she was lying. And she was doing it on purpose. This is conversational gaslighting, and it's the second tactic hiding in normal dialogue. The manipulator systematically contradicts your memory of past conversations, rewriting history to serve their narrative. They do it with complete confidence, often with a tone of loving concern, as if they're gently correcting a confused child. The goal isn't just to win an argument. The goal is to make you question your fundamental ability to perceive reality accurately. Once they've achieved that, they can tell you anything and you'll believe them over yourself. Here's the terrifying part. It works because human memory is actually fragile. We do misremember things. We do have gaps. And manipulators exploit that biological fact ruthlessly. They pick moments when you're tired, stressed, or emotional, moments when your memory is naturally less reliable, and they strike. They rewrite the script. And you, desperate to believe you're not losing your grip on reality, accept their version. How do you recognize it? Listen for phrases like, "You're remembering it wrong," "That's not what happened," "I never said that," "You're being too sensitive," or the particularly insidious, "Are you sure? Because I remember it completely differently." Watch for patterns where your memory is consistently questioned, where you're always the one who's confused, who's mistaken, who's overreacting. The defense requires documentation. When important conversations happen, especially with people who've questioned your memory before, follow up with a text or email summarizing what was discussed. "Hey, just to confirm, we agreed that." This creates a written record. If they try to rewrite it later, you have evidence. And here's the critical part. Trust yourself. If your gut says something happened a certain way and someone insists you're wrong, don't automatically defer to them. Sit with your memory. Write it down immediately after conversations. Your perception is valid. Your memory, while imperfect, is yours. Don't let anyone take that from you. Now imagine this. You've just defended yourself successfully against both of those tactics. You've protected your ideas. You've trusted your memory. You feel stronger, more aware. And that's exactly when the third tactic activates. Because predators don't just use one weapon. They layer them. 3 weeks after Sarah corrected Marcus publicly about the strategy, something strange started happening. Her other co-workers became distant. One of them, Jennifer, who she'd always gotten along with, barely made eye contact anymore. Another, David, stopped inviting her to lunch. She had no idea what changed until she overheard a conversation in the break room. Jennifer was talking to someone else, saying, "I just think Sarah's been really aggressive lately. Marcus told me she's been taking credit for team efforts and making him feel excluded." Sarah felt like she'd been punched. That wasn't what happened. That was the exact opposite of what happened. But Marcus had gotten there first. He'd told his version to everyone else, positioning himself as the victim of her aggression, and now her legitimate defense of her own work looked like an attack. She was being isolated, and she didn't even know how to fight it because the damage was already done. The narrative was set. This is tactical triangulation with narrative pre-framing. The manipulator doesn't just compete with you directly. They recruit allies by telling a distorted version of events to others before you have a chance to defend yourself. They play the victim. They position you as the aggressor. And suddenly you're not just fighting one person. You're fighting an entire social network that's been poisoned against you. This tactic is particularly effective in workplaces, friend groups, and families, anywhere there's a shared community that the manipulator can turn into their jury. The brilliance of it, from a predator's perspective, is that it makes you look paranoid if you try to defend yourself. If you say, "Marcus is lying about me," to other people, you sound defensive, unstable, like you're the problem. Meanwhile, Marcus looks calm, reasonable, hurt by your accusations. Your mind is not entirely your own when others control the narrative about who you are. How do you recognize this is happening? Notice when people who were once friendly become suddenly cold without explanation. Pay attention to shifts in group dynamics after you've had a conflict with someone. Watch for situations where you defend yourself and then get accused of being aggressive or difficult. The manipulator will often use phrases like, "I'm concerned about her behavior," "I just want what's best for the team," or "I hate drama, but..." The defense is proactive relationship maintenance. Don't wait for a manipulator to poison the well. Build genuine, direct relationships with the people in your shared community. Have your own conversations. Share your own truth. And when you do need to defend yourself, do it calmly, with facts, and directly with the people who've been told lies about you. Don't argue with the manipulator in front of others. Go to the others privately and say, "I heard there might be some confusion about what happened. Here's my perspective." Give them the information they need to form their own opinion. Some will believe you. Some won't. But at least you've countered the narrative. Let that sink in. 3 tactics. All hiding in normal workplace conversation. All devastating if you don't see them. And we're just getting started. There's a 4th tactic, one that's so subtle most people don't even realize it's happening until years have passed. It doesn't steal your ideas or your reality or your reputation. It steals your time. Michael's friend Alex was going through a crisis. Again, it was always something. A job loss, a breakup, a family emergency, a health scare. And Michael, being a good friend, was always there. Late-night phone calls that lasted hours. Emergency meetings at coffee shops. Endless texts asking for advice, support, reassurance. Michael canceled plans, cut therapy sessions short, even missed work occasionally to be there for Alex. Because that's what friends do, right? But here's what Michael didn't notice. Whenever Michael needed support, Alex was suddenly busy. Not in an obvious way. Alex would listen for a few minutes, say something sympathetic, and then pivot. "That sounds tough, man. Hey, speaking of tough, let me tell you what happened to me today." And just like that, the conversation was back on Alex. Or Alex would say, "I really want to help, but I'm just so overwhelmed right now with everything I'm dealing with. Can we talk about this next week?" Next week never came. Michael started to feel guilty for even bringing up his own problems. He felt selfish, needy, like his issues weren't as serious as Alex's. So he stopped sharing. He became the permanent support system, the emotional caretaker, the one who gave and gave and gave while receiving nothing in return. And Alex, whether consciously or unconsciously, had trained him to accept this as normal. This is called emotional vampirism through crisis monopolization. The manipulator maintains a constant state of crisis that demands your attention, energy, and resources. But it's never reciprocal. They're never available when you're in need. They've positioned themselves as uniquely damaged, uniquely suffering, uniquely deserving of support. And you, because you're empathetic, because you want to be a good person, accept this imbalanced dynamic without question. Here's the dark truth about this tactic. Some people, not all, but some, have learned that crisis equals attention. And attention equals control. So they create crisis. They manufacture drama. They ensure there's always a new emergency that requires your emotional labor. And you feel trapped because if you pull back, you're abandoning someone in pain. You're being a bad friend. But here's what you need to understand. Real crisis is temporary. Real struggle has valleys and peaks. If someone is in constant crisis for months or years, if there's always a new disaster preventing them from showing up for you, that's not bad luck. That's a pattern. That's a tactic. How do you recognize it? Track the reciprocity in your relationships. Are you always the one giving emotional support? Are your problems consistently minimized, dismissed, or redirected back to theirs? Do you feel guilty or selfish for having needs? Those are red flags. The defense is boundary enforcement without guilt. You are allowed to say, "I care about you, but I don't have the capacity to help right now." You are allowed to hang up the phone after 30 minutes instead of staying on for 3 hours. You are allowed to expect reciprocity in your relationships. And if someone makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, that's confirmation you need them. Real friends will understand. Manipulators will escalate, guilt trip, or disappear. Let them. You're not losing a friend. You're exposing a user. But wait. Stop. Listen to your gut right now. As you're hearing this, is there someone specific coming to mind? Someone who always has a crisis? Someone who drains you? Pay attention to that. Your subconscious already knows. There's a 5th tactic, and this one operates in the space between words. In the silence. In what's deliberately not said. Rachel thought everything was fine. She and her partner Jordan had a good relationship. Or so she believed. They talked every day, laughed together, made plans for the future. But there was something strange she couldn't quite articulate. Whenever she accomplished something, Jordan's response was muted. She got a promotion. Jordan said, "That's great," and then changed the subject to talk about dinner. She finished a marathon she'd been training for months to complete. Jordan said, "Cool," and asked if she'd seen the news show everyone was watching. At first, Rachel thought she was being too sensitive. Maybe Jordan was distracted. Maybe she was expecting too much enthusiasm. But then she noticed the contrast. When Jordan's friend got a promotion, Jordan talked about it for 20 minutes, so proud, so animated. When Jordan's coworker ran a marathon, Jordan posted about it on social media, called it inspiring. Rachel's achievements got silence. Minimization. Immediate topic changes. It wasn't overt criticism. It was something more insidious. It was the absence of celebration, the withholding of acknowledgement. And over time, Rachel stopped sharing her successes with Jordan. Because what was the point? She'd learned that her victories made Jordan uncomfortable. And without realizing it, she'd started making herself smaller to keep the relationship comfortable. This is passive diminishment through selective attention withdrawal. The manipulator doesn't attack your success. They simply refuse to celebrate it. They give you just enough response to avoid seeming overtly cruel, but they withhold the enthusiasm, the pride, the genuine happiness that you'd naturally expect from someone who loves you. This trains you, subtly and powerfully, to stop achieving or to stop sharing your achievements. Keeps you small. It keeps you manageable. Because people who feel good about themselves are harder to control. Here's why this tactic is so effective. It's deniable. If you confront them, they can say, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Congratulations. You're being unreasonable." They can position you as needy, as requiring constant validation, as never being satisfied. But you're not crazy. You're picking up on a pattern of emotional withholding that's absolutely deliberate, even if it's subconscious. Your mind is not entirely your own when someone else controls your sense of worth. How do you recognize it? Compare how the person responds to your good news versus others' good news. Notice if you've started hiding your achievements to avoid the uncomfortable flatness of their response. Pay attention to whether you feel smaller, less confident, less proud of yourself since entering this relationship. The defense is external validation sourcing and internal confidence building. Find people who genuinely celebrate you. Friends, family, mentors, online communities, anyone who responds to your success with real enthusiasm. Let their energy fill the void the manipulator created. And more importantly, learn to celebrate yourself. Your achievements are valid regardless of who acknowledges them. If someone can't be happy for you, that's information about them, not about you. Limit what you share with them. Save your vulnerability for people who've earned it. Now let's go deeper. Because the tactics I've just described, they're manipulative, yes, but they're almost quaint compared to what comes next. The next 12 tactics are where normal conversation becomes psychological warfare. Tactic number 6 is conversational landmining. The manipulator plants emotional triggers in casual dialogue and then acts innocent when you react. Here's how it looks. You're having dinner with a family member who knows, absolutely knows, that you're sensitive about your weight. You've talked about it. You've set boundaries around it. And yet, mid-conversation they say something like, I saw this article about how dangerous obesity is. People just don't take their health seriously anymore. It's not directed at you. Not overtly. But it lands like a slap. You tense up. Your appetite disappears. And when you call them out, they look shocked, hurt even. I wasn't talking about you. Why are you so defensive? I was just making conversation. They've triggered you deliberately and then made you feel crazy for being triggered. This is the landmine. They plant it, you step on it, and then they blame you for the explosion. Tactic number 7 is strategic interruption with false summarization. You're explaining something important, something that matters to you, and the manipulator interrupts halfway through with, "Okay, so what you're saying is..." And then they completely misrepresent what you just said. They summarize your point in a way that makes it sound stupid, extreme, or unreasonable. And now you have to waste energy correcting them instead of finishing your original thought. It derails you, frustrates you, and it makes you look like you're the one who can't communicate clearly. They do this repeatedly until you just stop trying to express yourself around them. Tactic number 8 is compliment sandwiching with a poison center. You're so smart. I just wish you weren't so sensitive about feedback. But I really admire how hard you work. It sounds like praise. 2 compliments surrounding 1 criticism. But the criticism is the point. The compliments are just delivery mechanisms. And because it's wrapped in apparent kindness, you feel ungrateful for being hurt by it. You focus on the negative center, which was always the intention, and you start trying to fix the flaw they've identified. Meanwhile, they get to look supportive while systematically destroying your confidence. Tactic number 9 is false equivalency in conflict. You bring up a legitimate grievance. They respond by bringing up something completely unrelated that you did wrong, usually something minor or from months or years ago, and they present it as if the two things cancel each other out. Okay, I forgot your birthday, but remember when you were late to my thing that one time? It's not equivalent. But they frame it as if it is, and suddenly you're defending yourself instead of addressing the original issue. The conversation becomes about scorekeeping instead of resolution, and the real problem never gets solved. Tactic number 10 is concern trolling. I'm just worried about you. You've been so distant lately. Are you okay? I feel like you're pulling away from everyone who cares about you. This sounds like genuine concern, but it's actually a guilt trip disguised as care. They're making you feel bad for setting boundaries, for protecting yourself, for spending less time with them. And because it's framed as worry, you feel obligated to reassure them, to prove you're not pulling away, which usually means giving up the boundaries you just set. It's emotional manipulation masquerading as love. Your mind is not entirely your own when guilt is weaponized as affection. Think about this right now. How many conversations have you had that followed these exact patterns? How many times have you walked away feeling confused, guilty, or angry without understanding why? Tactic number 11 is moving the goalposts. You do exactly what they asked. You meet their standard. And then they say, well, that's good, but... And they add a new requirement you didn't know about. You meet that one. They add another. You can never succeed because success is a moving target. This is common in work environments, in relationships, and families. The manipulator maintains power by ensuring you're always falling short, always chasing approval you'll never receive. Keeps you trying. It keeps you controllable. Tactic 12 is future faking. They make elaborate promises about the future to keep you invested in the present. Once I get this promotion, we'll take that trip. After my divorce is finalized, we'll be together properly. Next year, I'll finally have time to focus on us. The future never comes. There's always a new reason for delay. But the promise keeps you hoping, waiting, sacrificing your present for a future that doesn't exist. This is particularly devastating in romantic relationships, but it happens in friendships and business partnerships too. The person who's always about to change, about to commit, about to follow through, but somehow never does. Tactic 13 is strategic vulnerability. The manipulator shares something deeply personal, something that makes them seem vulnerable and trustworthy. You feel honored that they've opened up to you. You feel close to them. So you open up in return, sharing your own vulnerabilities, your fears, your secrets. And later, much later, they use that information against you. In an argument, they throw your confession back in your face. In a professional setting, they share your weakness with others. The vulnerability was never real. It was bait. And you took it. Tactic 14 is the silent treatment as punishment. You do something they don't like and they disappear. They stop responding to texts. They give you the cold shoulder. They withdraw all warmth and communication until you apologize, until you beg for them to come back, until you promise to never do it again. This isn't someone taking healthy space to process emotions. This is deliberate emotional withdrawal designed to train you through punishment. And it works because humans are wired for connection. The pain of being frozen out is so intense that you'll do almost anything to make it stop. And once you've learned that lesson, they control you through the threat of future withdrawal. Tactic 15 is playing the victim when confronted. Every time you bring up something they did wrong, they flip the script. They start crying. They say you're attacking them. They bring up how hard their life has been. They make their pain so much bigger than yours that you end up comforting them instead of addressing the issue. You came to the conversation as the hurt party and left as the comforter. This is Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. And it's one of the most powerful manipulation tactics in existence because it weaponizes empathy. Your kindness becomes the tool they use to escape accountability. Tactic 16 is insincere apologies followed by repeated behavior. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I'm sorry, but you have to understand. These aren't real apologies. They're placeholders. They're designed to end the conversation without admitting fault or changing behavior. A real apology names the specific action, acknowledges the impact, and commits to different behavior. I'm sorry I lied to you. I understand that broke your trust. I'm going to be honest going forward, and I'll work to rebuild that trust. Manipulators rarely give real apologies. They give word salads that sound like apologies but contain no actual accountability. And then they do the exact same thing again. Because the apology wasn't about repair. It was about making you stop complaining. And finally, Tactic 17. This is the most dangerous one. The one that ties all the others together. It's called reality testing and trust erosion. After experiencing multiple manipulative conversations with someone, you start to doubt yourself fundamentally. You think, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I am remembering things wrong. Maybe I am the problem. You start testing your own reality by asking others if you're overreacting. You start keeping evidence, recording conversations, saving texts, because you can't trust your own perceptions anymore. This is the endgame. This is what all 17 tactics build toward. The complete erosion of your self-trust. Because once you don't trust yourself, you have to trust them. And then they own you completely. Your mind is not entirely your own when you've forgotten it ever was. So let me ask you something. How many of these 17 tactics have you experienced? Not might have experienced. Have experienced. Sit with that number. Let it be real. Because here's what you need to understand. None of this is your fault. Manipulators are skilled. They've practiced. They've refined their approach through countless interactions. They know how to read people, how to find vulnerabilities, how to exploit the basic human need for connection and belonging. You're not weak for falling for it. You're human. But now you know. And knowledge is the beginning of immunity. Here's what you do with this information. First, you trust yourself again. Your perceptions are valid. Your memory is real. Your feelings are legitimate responses to manipulative behavior. Stop questioning yourself and start questioning them. Second, you document. Keep records of conversations that feel off. Screenshot texts. Write down what was said immediately after important discussions. Evidence protects you when someone tries to rewrite history. Third, you establish boundaries and enforce them without guilt. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to protect your peace. Fourth, you find your people. Not everyone is a manipulator. Most people aren't. There are genuine, honest, reciprocal relationships out there. Invest in those. Let the manipulative ones fall away. And fifth, you become the person who teaches others what you've learned. Because somewhere, someone you care about is experiencing these exact 17 tactics and thinks they're losing their mind. You can be the voice that tells them they're not crazy. They're being manipulated. And there's a way out. Every conversation you have from this point forward will be different. You'll notice things you didn't see before. You'll catch the landmines before you step on them. You'll recognize the patterns in real time. And yes, this might make you feel paranoid at first. You might start seeing manipulation everywhere. That's normal. That's your brain recalibrating, becoming more attuned to social dynamics you previously ignored. But eventually it settles. You'll be able to distinguish between genuine human imperfection and systematic manipulation. You'll know the difference between someone who occasionally forgets things and someone who deliberately rewrites your shared history. You'll recognize the gap between a friend having a bad day and an emotional vampire draining you dry. And you'll protect yourself without hesitation. Here's the part nobody tells you. Once you see these tactics clearly, once you've named them and understood them, you become dangerous to manipulators. Not physically dangerous. Psychologically dangerous. Because you can't be fooled anymore. You can't be controlled. And manipulators rely on your ignorance, your self-doubt, your willingness to give them the benefit of the doubt over and over again. When you stop doing that, when you start calling out the tactics as they happen, one of two things will occur. Either the manipulator will drop the mask completely, showing you who they really are and making it easier to walk away. Or they'll disappear from your life on their own because you're no longer a viable target. Either way, you win. But here's the haunting question I need to leave you with. The question that will stay with you long after this audio ends. Who in your life is using these tactics right now? Not who might be. Who is? Close your eyes and see their face. You know who they are. You've known for a while. You just didn't have the language to describe what they were doing. You didn't have permission to trust what you were feeling. Now you do. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep accepting it, keep making excuses, keep hoping they'll change? Or are you going to choose yourself? Are you going to set boundaries, reduce contact, or walk away entirely? This is the moment. This is where knowledge becomes power or remains just information. The choice is yours. Your mind is not entirely your own. But it can be. Starting now. Starting with the next conversation you have with them. Watch for the tactics. Name them silently in your head as they happen. That's gaslighting. That's triangulation. That's the victim flip. And once you've named it, you've neutralized it. Because manipulation only works in the dark. In confusion. In self-doubt. You're bringing light now. You're bringing clarity. And they're going to hate that. Let them. You're not here to make manipulators comfortable. You're here to reclaim your mind. So go do that. Be ruthless about it. Be unapologetic. And when someone asks you why you've changed, why you're not as available, why you're not accepting their behavior anymore, smile and tell them the truth. Tell them you woke up, and nothing will ever be the same again.